that they're a certain character, a certain being, and what the fake visions, the fake prophecies. I've had visions a lot throughout my life, and even I have to sit back and discern each one I see. Is it of the Lord or was that elf?
Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't know which one, and it takes you a week to think about it, and you're like, oh, that's not God. Why would he do this? You learn how he works, so that when something does happen, it doesn't fit into the mold of how he does things, how he works, and you know it isn't from him.
Mm. Have you, at what age did you discover that you were an incarnation?
I didn't discover that until probably a couple of years ago.
Oh, right.
It was something the Lord had been leading me into slowly over time. And so I really didn't, it made all the pieces of the puzzle fit in from that point on. Everything started making sense.
Because we do hear a lot about people having these past life experiences, but they are never allowed to either remember them or specifically from an angelic point of view.
Well, there's a difference between incarnation and reincarnation. Reincarnation's a bunch of hogwash. Reincarnation is a result of a cesspool of DNA over generations, and having all these different ancestors' DNA in your own body or their own genes. Also, sexual experiences with people. You can contract whatever demons they have. You can contract people's demons, not just sexual diseases, but their demons as well. That makes you think that you were a queen of the past, or it's just they took incarnation and ran with it for 10 miles and came up with reincarnation.
Do you think
Incarnation is the same thing Yahushua was, the Son of God. He was an angel of heaven sent on earth as to be a human as the Son of God. He was an incarnated being. That's a typical example of an incarnation. Someone sent from heaven to earth with a specific mission.
Right.
That's incarnation. And they don't relive, various lives over and over again. They don't get the chance to get it right the next time, like reincarnation preaches. Reincarnation, you can come back over and over and over and over again. There's no finality. When you die, you just come back as something else. It's just an endless cycle. There's no judgment. There's no accountability to the life you lived the one before. The only judgment they have is what they call karma, where the next time you could come back as an ant or a grasshopper if you were really bad in the lifetime before. I mean, it's silly.
And if you're really lucky, a cow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does seem strange to me that the people that have a faith like Hinduism as their origin faith, they see it as a curse. And yet in the West and Europe, it's supposed to be a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems a vicious cycle that you don't really want to continue. Were you aware that the leaders of these Hindu religions have declared basically a war on Christianity?
Well, there's going to be a huge war on Christianity coming up, and the Bible mentions it in chapter 13 of the book of Revelation. And the Lord mentions it in Matthew 24. There's a persecution of the saints that's coming. It's part of the tribulation period. And it's going to be these Muslims. You got 1.2 billion, 1.6, 1.8 right now, Muslims. And also the Indians. There's 1 point whatever billion Indians. Those two races alone, the Indians, the Hindus, and the Muslims, when this Maitreya arrives that Iran is waiting for, they call him their Mahdi, he is going to lead a war against Christianity.
Have you seen in the news lately that Pakistan has just gone into martial law under a Muslim leader?
I haven't heard about it, but
yeah, it's very recent.
I know the Illuminati had some kind of a script where they would go to war with India. It's just all...
It's quite worrying thinking that Pakistan is a nuclear power and they're the first... It's almost like they're a guinea pig nation.
Yeah. They do have some prophetic significance. I can't really put my finger on it right now. But they're all protected because these ascended masters, these New Age ascended masters, Sananda and Maitreya and all them, they have a lot to do with Tibet and being over there amongst the Indians and the Muslims, and so, that's kind of like their home base territory.
So, as an incarnation, no doubt you've been sent here for this specific purpose. Were you not allowed to retain any of your previous experiences, or have any of them come to light in recent years?
No. And see, there's more than just me. There's many, many on Earth today. 144,000 to be exact. That were sent here in the last days from heaven to be here in the last days with specific jobs to do. And people can't wake up and realize who they are if they sit and get stuck in the religious mind control circles that are going on today. It's all been a setup from Satan. The only way people are going to realize who they are is to sit at the Lord's feet and ask Him, to seek Him for the truth in all things. Let Him reveal it to them. Most of them aren't stuck in the deceptions. They've been pulled out already because they know they're different. From the time you're born, you start experiencing harassment and unusual experiences that most other people just don't experience. Most of the Lord's people have similar stories where they've just been harassed by either the demonic realm or the government since they were born. And they didn't know why. And I've always said, Satan knows who you are before you're born, before you do, even after you're born. I mean, I was in my early 30s before I realized why I was so different, why I was the target. Because when I was in my early 20s, I'd always been followed around by this 10, 12 foot tall phantom, this big gatekeeper. People paint the Grim Reaper. When I was a child and saw a Star Wars movie and saw Darth Vader, I about fell out of the chair because I'd been the same creature that had been following me around since I was a kid.
Right. I have heard you talk about Jedis and things like that.
Yeah, and so I asked it. I didn't really ask. I don't remember if I asked him what he just said, but he said he had been assigned to me from the time I was a child to kill me. And so I would look over all the different times in my life where I just about was killed, and here he would have been the one behind it because it was his job. He was Satan's general, signed directly from him from the time I was born to kill me.
Todd, that reminds me an awful lot of the film Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. Have you seen that?
I don't think so.
Well,
I might have. I've seen quite a few of his.
In that movie, Bruce Lee has a very similar experience where he has this generational demon attached to him, and when he's at his peak, it's his job to take him down, and he has to defeat him.
Oh, I didn't know that, but I don't doubt it. I mean, I've seen it myself. I've experienced it. I actually cast this thing. I had the angels chain it and cast it into the abyss. It's when the Lord started teaching me spiritual warfare, and before He had left, He wanted to let me know why He had been assigned to me, why He had been following me around all my life. And so, and whatever he had to say could have been a lie, could be a grain of salt. It's like, chew it or chunk it, But I had the angels take it and cast it into the abyss. And I've learned how to do that with anything that I see that's not of the Lord. I don't entertain it. I don't speak to it. I just have the angels chain it and cast it into the abyss. And I've been able to get rid of a lot of his generals that way.
Is it a secret what he said to you, or can you tell us?
Is that what?
Is it a secret what he said to you, or can you tell us?
Oh, I was just talking about how his answer to me that he was assigned to me to kill me as a child. Right. I don't know if that's true or not. Right. That's just what he said. I don't tend to believe anything they say. It's usually with one ear open, the other closed. Usually when they're speaking, they're lying. So it's hard to say when they're telling the truth and when they're lying.
One question I've always come up with myself concerning Satan and how he works, it seems like when he's within Earth's atmosphere, he seems bound by time and it's every sort of barrier and limit of it. But when he seems to disappear into his other, spiritual realm, it seems like he's outside of time, therefore he can know